You think they're pulling away because they don't care. But what if I told you their distance might actually be the loudest way they're saying, you matter more than anyone else ever has? We all crave connection, even the ones who seem to run from it. Avoidant people get a bad reputation. We call them emotionally unavailable, cold, or distant. But here's the truth most people miss. Avoidants don't avoid love. They avoid the risk of love. When someone with an avoidant attachment starts catching real feelings, their brain goes into overdrive. Love, to them, isn't a warm hug, it's a fire alarm. Their instinct says, retreat, you could get hurt here, but here's the twist. If they're still showing up, even inconsistently, even awkwardly, that's not disinterest, that's courage in disguise. You'll notice subtle signs. They'll start opening up about small things, their favorite show, a childhood story, a dream they've never told anyone. They'll remember details about you that you didn't even think mattered. And when they disappear for a day or two, it's not always rejection, it's regulation. They're trying to calm the storm of emotions that love has stirred up inside them. So if you're dating someone avoidant, don't chase them, understand them. Their pullback isn't proof that they don't care. It might actually be proof that they care more than they know how to handle. Because when an avoidant person starts loving you, they don't run away from love. They just take the scenic route toward it. When someone has an avoidant attachment style, their behavior can be deeply confusing. One day they're close, warm, and engaged. The next, they seem to vanish behind an emotional wall. To the person on the other end, it feels like rejection. But what's really happening isn't about a lack of love. It's about fear. Avoidant individuals don't actually avoid love. They avoid risk. They fear the emotional exposure that comes with letting someone in, because to them, love isn't just connection, it's potential pain. From a young age, many avoidant types learned that closeness came with strings attached. Maybe they had to earn affection, or maybe affection was inconsistent. Over time, they built an emotional reflex. If I stay self-contained, I stay safe. So when they meet someone who truly touches their heart, their old programming starts to fight the new feelings. Their brain sends warning signals. Don't get too close. You'll lose control. Don't rely on them. They might leave. It's not that they don't feel love. In fact, they often feel it more intensely than they're prepared to handle. That's why the very moment they care deeply is often the same moment they seem to pull away. For an avoidant, love represents vulnerability, and vulnerability represents danger. When someone starts to mean something to them, it challenges their sense of safety. Suddenly, they're not in control of their emotions. They're not the detached observer anymore. They're in it. They can't predict how it will go, and that unpredictability terrifies them. To cope, they create space. They delay replies. They immerse themselves in work. They convince themselves they just need time to think. But that distance is not always rejection. It's self-preservation. Here's the irony. The more they love you, the more likely they are to pull away. It's not logical, but it's emotional survival. Deep inside, they believe closeness leads to loss. So when their feelings grow, they try to shrink the risk. They avoid love not because it's unwanted, but because it feels too important. When love enters their life, it shakes their balance, threatens their independence, and forces them to face emotions they've long avoided. Longing, dependency, hope. For someone wired to be self-reliant, that's terrifying. If you've ever been with an avoidant, you might notice that they often show care through action rather than words. They might fix things for you, give practical help, or check in about something small but meaningful. These are safer ways for them to express love. They're offering without exposing. It's a way to stay engaged without feeling vulnerable. Their avoidance isn't coldness, it's a shield. And often behind that shield is someone who feels deeply but doesn't yet trust that those feelings are safe to show. So when they take space, it's not necessarily to escape you. It's often to manage themselves. They're regulating emotions that feel too big to handle. What looks like distance can actually be their way of trying to make sure they don't say or do something they'll regret. In a moment of overwhelm, they need time to translate what they feel into something they can handle. And in their own slow, guarded way, that's a form of love. The kind that's scared, but still trying. When someone with an avoidant attachment style pulls back, it can feel like the beginning of the end. You might start wondering what you did wrong or assume they've lost interest. But in many cases, their retreat isn't a sign of indifference. It's a coping mechanism. When emotions become too intense, avoidants often need space to regulate themselves. They aren't withdrawing from you as much as they're trying to manage what's happening inside them. For people who lean avoidant, closeness and intimacy can trigger deep-seated fears, the very experience that feels comforting to someone secure or anxious, a deep emotional connection, can feel overwhelming and unsafe to them. It's as if every affectionate word or tender moment adds weight to their chest. Their nervous system interprets too much closeness as a threat, not because you've done something wrong, but because their emotional wiring tells them they might lose control, get hurt, or become dependent. When the emotional temperature rises, their instinct is to cool it down by stepping away. That pullback isn't rejection, it's an attempt to restore balance. Avoidants often grew up in environments where emotional needs were ignored, dismissed, or punished. They learned early that the safest way to survive was to rely on themselves. So, when they find themselves in a relationship that stirs genuine feelings, their inner alarm system goes off. They might suddenly feel suffocated, anxious, or even irritated by too much attention. It's not because they don't value the connection, it's because their mind equates emotional intensity with danger. Taking space becomes their way of regaining a sense of safety. You might notice that after a deep conversation or a particularly intimate moment, they seem quieter, distracted, or distant. This is often when they're trying to process what just happened. They're thinking, replaying, analyzing, checking if they're still safe being this emotionally exposed. It's not that they want to undo the connection. They just need time to feel grounded again. Emotional regulation for them often means physical or emotional distance, not to escape love, but to find the stability that allows them to stay in it. Imagine being in a room that's suddenly too warm. A securely attached person might open a window. An avoidant person steps outside entirely. It's not about disliking the room. It's about needing air. Once they can breathe again, they often return. The mistake many partners make is chasing them during that moment of retreat, interpreting it as rejection rather than recalibration. That chase can intensify the avoidant sense of being trapped, pushing them further away. When an avoidant pulls back, what they're often doing is resetting their emotional equilibrium. They're sorting through their feelings, assessing how much they can handle, and convincing themselves it's safe to stay connected. The silence or distance is not the absence of feeling. It's the space they need to make sense of it. Their way of regulating might look like withdrawal, but in their mind, it's how they make love sustainable. They step back not to disappear, but to make sure they can come closer again without losing themselves. When someone with an avoidant attachment style starts showing small vulnerabilities, it can feel almost imperceptible, but these moments carry enormous weight. Avoidants are often seen as self-sufficient, independent, or emotionally detached, but the truth is that opening up is a huge risk for them. Sharing even minor personal details can feel like stepping onto a tightrope, balancing between trust and exposure. So when they start letting you see little pieces of themselves, their favorite song, a childhood memory, a funny or embarrassing moment, they are quietly signaling that they trust you more than they normally allow themselves to trust anyone. These small vulnerabilities matter because avoidants rarely show their inner world. For most people, a simple confession or anecdote seems ordinary, even casual. But for an avoidant, revealing personal information requires them to lower their defenses, if only briefly. When they tell you something about their day that seems trivial or share a fleeting thought about their life, it's more than just conversation. It's a deliberate step toward intimacy. It indicates that they are choosing to let someone in, even if the pace is slow or uneven. Often, avoidants are skilled at keeping the surface calm while hiding complex emotions underneath. They might appear aloof or distant, but those small moments of honesty pierce the armor they've built over the years. They might admit a small fear, express a preference they usually keep private, or let you glimpse a softer, more vulnerable side of themselves. Each of these actions requires courage because vulnerability is unfamiliar and uncomfortable for them. They are used to being in control of their emotions, and exposing themselves, even slightly, challenges that control. The subtlety of these signals is important. Avoidants rarely announce their feelings in grand declarations. Instead, their love is often revealed in tiny, deliberate acts, remembering a minor detail you mentioned weeks ago, joking about something that only the two of you understand, or gently teasing in a way that shows attention. These are all ways they communicate care without fully abandoning their protective distance. Their method of sharing vulnerability is measured and cautious, reflecting their need to feel safe while still connecting. When you notice an avoidant opening up about small personal details, it's a sign that they are taking a calculated risk with you. They are testing the waters of trust, seeing if their vulnerability will be met with acceptance rather than judgment. Every minor confession is a step toward letting their guard down more and more. These moments are not just casual conversations. They are deliberate signals of emotional investment. They are saying in their own careful way that they see you as someone worth revealing themselves to. Over time, these small glimpses build a bridge between their protective exterior and their hidden emotional depth, showing that their feelings for you are real, even if they don't always express them in traditional ways. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, love is often expressed in subtle, understated ways rather than grand gestures or constant verbal affirmations. They may not always tell you how they feel, but the effort they put into the little things reveals far more about their emotions than words ever could. Presence matters far more than frequency for them because consistent micro efforts are how they navigate love without feeling overwhelmed or exposed. To an avoidant, love is not about being constantly available. It's about showing up in ways that feel safe, sustainable, and controlled. An avoidant person might not call or text you multiple times a day, but the moments they do reach out are deliberate. They remember your schedule, check in at a time that matters, or ask about something you mentioned in passing days or even weeks ago. These actions may seem small or easily overlooked, but for someone who typically struggles with emotional closeness, they require conscious attention and investment. Each of these small acts is an anchor, a proof point that they are present in your life even when they appear distant. Avoidants often show care through practical actions rather than emotional declarations. They might fix something for you without being asked, bring up a topic they know matters to you, or subtly accommodate your needs without fanfare. These micro efforts are their way of communicating affection safely. They can help, support, or engage without exposing themselves to emotional vulnerability. What looks like casual thoughtfulness is actually a deep form of caring that aligns with their comfort zone, demonstrating love while protecting themselves from emotional overwhelm. The consistency of these actions is key. Unlike someone with a more anxious attachment style who may seek constant reassurance, avoidants tend to communicate on their own terms. They might disappear for a while and reappear with meaningful engagement, or they may maintain a steady, understated pattern of connection. It's not the frequency of interaction that matters. It's that their attention, when given, is genuine and intentional. They may not always articulate their feelings directly, but the repeated, subtle efforts to remain part of your life indicate a level of emotional investment that goes beyond words. For an avoidant, these small, consistent behaviors build trust and security in the relationship over time. They're not always dramatic and they rarely announce their significance, but they signal something profound. They are choosing to stay, to care, and to prioritize you even when it challenges their natural inclination to withdraw. Recognizing and appreciating these subtle signals allows you to understand their love in a way that aligns with how they experience and express emotion. It's a quiet, enduring form of connection that may be easy to miss, but it is often more telling than any verbal affirmation could ever be. Presence over frequency is essentially their love language. The fact that they remember what matters to you, that they show up in ways they can manage, and that they invest in small but meaningful ways reveals that despite their apparent distance, they are emotionally invested. The consistency of these efforts, even if not overwhelming, is a clear reflection of care, demonstrating that they are committed to maintaining connection in the way that feels safest for them, while still showing that you matter deeply. Loving someone with an avoidant attachment style requires a delicate balance between offering understanding and maintaining your own boundaries. Avoidants often retreat when emotions become intense, not because they don't care, but because they need space to process feelings in a way that feels safe. If you overextend yourself to fill the gaps they leave or chase after them when they pull back, it can unintentionally reinforce their fear of being smothered or overwhelmed, making it harder for them to stay connected. Loving them without losing yourself means learning to provide support while also protecting your own emotional well-being. One of the key aspects of this balance is recognizing the difference between distance and rejection. Avoidants often need periods of withdrawal to regulate their emotions, and that withdrawal is not a reflection of your worth or the strength of their feelings. Understanding this helps you respond with patience rather than panic. You can offer reassurance in ways that respect their need for space, sending a thoughtful message, acknowledging their feelings, or simply allowing silence, without trying to force closeness or demand explanations. This measured approach communicates that you care without triggering their instinct to pull away further. Maintaining your own boundaries is equally important. Avoidants often test limits, sometimes unconsciously, to see whether you will overextend yourself or lose yourself in the relationship. If you allow yourself to be completely consumed by their needs, it can create an unbalanced dynamic where their fears and avoidance dominate the emotional rhythm of the relationship. By staying grounded, honoring your own needs, and maintaining your sense of self, you create a stable foundation that allows them to safely engage. This stability reassures them that connection does not have to mean loss of autonomy, which is one of the core fears driving avoidant behavior. It's also important to practice consistent emotional availability without pressure. You can show love and care through small gestures, active listening, and validation of their feelings, while still respecting their pace and comfort zone. This teaches the avoidant that intimacy does not have to be overwhelming or threatening. Over time, this consistency builds trust, allowing them to lower their defenses gradually and express vulnerability more openly. Your ability to offer love without clinging or losing yourself demonstrates that healthy connection is possible and safe, which is often a transformative experience for someone who struggles with avoidance. Finally, loving an avoidant effectively involves patience and self-awareness. You need to recognize your own emotional triggers, manage expectations, and celebrate the subtle signs of connection rather than focusing solely on what seems absent. Avoidants may never express love in conventional ways, but their micro efforts, thoughtful gestures, and slow willingness to share themselves are powerful indicators of care. By maintaining your own emotional balance while honoring their process, you create a space where love can exist authentically. In doing so, you protect your heart, foster their growth, and allow the relationship to flourish on terms that feel safe for both of you. So, if you've been wondering whether the distance, the hesitation, or the quiet moments of an avoidant partner mean they don't care, I hope today's talk has given you a different perspective. Love isn't always loud, obvious, or easy to interpret. Sometimes it's shown in the little things, the thoughtful gestures, the remembered details, the subtle ways they let you in. Understanding avoidance means seeing beyond the surface, recognizing that pullback doesn't equal rejection and that every small act of connection is a testament to their care. Remember, loving someone with an avoidant style isn't about chasing or changing them. It's about patience, respect, and balance. It's about appreciating the slow, intentional ways they show up and valuing yourself enough to maintain your own emotional well-being. When you do this, what might seem like distance can transform into profound intimacy and trust, built over time with understanding and compassion. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you walk away with a little more clarity, a little more patience, and a lot more confidence in navigating love with someone who feels things deeply but shows it in their own unique way. I appreciate each of you for giving your time, your attention, and your heart to this conversation. Take care, stay kind to yourself, and remember, love can look different for everyone, and that's part of what makes it so extraordinary. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.